Hey, this story is just one part of the Stories with Sapphire podcast. If you want to hear the full episode in its intended context, the link is in the description below. It's story time. Chapter 1. The Name of Flawless by Jason. Hey Sapphire, I just watched some of your videos about dreams and I actually have a story of my own. I've known that I was sensitive since the age of 9. One time I woke up in the middle of the night and saw what I can only describe as two cloudy figures, a man and a woman, dancing in a circle above me. But one of my most intense experiences was when I was about 14, before I transitioned. I had my very first predictive dream. I wasn't the only one with this gift in my family. My grandmother and father also had these dreams. The dreams were normally very symbolic, like my father would dream about snakes lurking around the house and biting him, which, according to my grandmother, meant that someone was going to betray him. My own dream was about my paternal grandmother. It happened in the middle of the week, just after she had mentioned that she would be taking my uncle Ruan and his girlfriend to the school dance on Saturday. I went to sleep that night and had a dream that felt so real and was so disturbing that I ran to my father afterwards. So the dream begins on the Saturday night of the dance, and we were all having a party in my grandmother's house. Me, my dad, my stepmother, and my younger brother were in the living room watching TV. My father's Uncle Jan, his wife, and his 3 daughters with all their kids were there too. The kids, as what was normal behavior of them, were playing in my grandmother's room. They were jumping on the beds and running around, behavior that irritated my father. My father looked at me and told me to go tell the kids to play more calmly. I went to go tell them to calm down and stop jumping around on Grandma's bed. And just as I was doing that, the phone rang. I answered the phone with a simple hello, and an unknown but calm voice spoke without a greeting. Your grandmother is now part of the group by the name of Flawless. I didn't know what that was supposed to mean. I kept asking the voice to tell me their name and explain what they were talking about, but they just hung up. Something about the call was very worrying. Then I found myself at my school and in my homeroom class. There was a ringing again. The teacher's cell phone. She called me to her desk and handed me the phone. The same voice spoke, but its tone was more urgent. Your grandmother is now part of the group by the name of Flawless. It sent a shiver down my spine. The group by the name of Flawless? What did they mean by that? I woke up bolting out of bed, covered in sweat, and ran to my father's room, not even knocking on the door, tears streaming down my face. I demanded he called her that second. Dad, call Grandma. Dad, call Grandma. Dad, call Grandma. I have to tell her something. I shook him by the shoulders, and it was as if my fear was passing into him as well. He called her, and I took the phone from his hand. Grandma, Saturday, be careful. It was all I got out. I couldn't get any more sleep after that. Saturday came. I was on edge the entire day. I knew something was going to happen, but I didn't know what. Later that night, my grandmother left to drop off my uncle and his girlfriend at the school dance. I reminded her to be careful. About an hour later, we received a call. It was my grandmother. She told us that on her way back from dropping them off, a truck ran a red light and crashed right into a pole. The driver died on the scene. Because of my warning, she was extra vigilant that night, driving much slower than usual and avoiding back roads. If she hadn't been paying close attention, her car would have been sandwiched between the truck and the pole. It was then that it hit me. Flawless. Angels are flawless. I believe that some higher being was trying to warn me. Maybe it was an angel, because it felt like it was coming from something very pure. To this day, my grandmother believes that if I hadn't called her in the middle of the night with my message, she would have died. I've heard of similar stories like this, where a warning in a dream ends up saving someone's life. And it's stories like these that make me reconfigure what I know about time and destiny. Was his grandmother destined to be in that accident, but she managed to change course? Or was she always meant to narrowly avoid death? If intervention is going to happen at all, why was she spared and not the truck driver? Jason believes that his ability was passed down to him by his ancestors, and they are watching him and his family very closely. Perhaps it's as simple as noticing when you are receiving a warning. If Jason had ignored the dream and not called his grandma, things might have ended differently. How many times in our lives do we have a hunch we ignore, only to later kick ourselves for not listening to it? Our dreams and our bodies are always trying to protect us. We just haven't been paying attention. Thank you for joining me today. If you like what you heard and would like to support this independently run show, consider becoming a member of my Patreon. Visit patreon.com/storieswithsapphire to see the different tiers and perks. If you'd like to submit a story, email me at storieswithsapphire@gmail.com. Salamat and good night.